Okay, here's a quick look at the Exceed RC Sunfire four-wheel drive buggy. These buggies have been a huge disappointment. My sons bought them a few years back, and let me get the bodies off and I'll explain why. Okay, the biggest disappointment comes from, believe it or not, when you unbox the buggy, how almost perfectly laid out the buggy really is. The shocks are dampened really well. It's got a mid-motor four-wheel drive shaft drive setup, plenty of room for the battery, and everything just appears to be just as it should. The first thing you think is, wow, this is a great deal. But that's where it stops. After you run it for the first time, you realize how poor the quality of the metal, the transmission, the worthless battery that it comes with. Even the one on the right, the green one, strips out a pinion gear about every 5 times you run it. And this is with a really weak battery and a really weak motor, just a standard 540 motor. But for some reason it continues to strip pinion gears out. I can't figure out why. The shock towers on these things are just worthless. They bend. With the first crash, they start bending. You're afraid to bend them back because you're afraid it'll eventually break. The green one, I tried to just put a 3,000 milliamp NIMH battery in it, and it burned up the speed controller and ruined the receiver. I just can't put into words how disappointing these are. And it comes from the potential they have when they come out of the box. And in the transmission, if they just at least put a good transmission, I don't know if it's the way the motor fits up against the pinion gear. It's really inaccessible. You can't really see what you're doing when you're trying to mesh the gears. If they would at least have put a decent transmission, you could at least ride it on a road with gravel, as long as you didn't jump it or flip it too much. But you can't even do that because the transmission is so terrible. And I can't imagine trying to hop one of these up. It would just tear it apart. So I'm pretty sure they don't sell these anymore, and I can see why.